Good morning. I'm meteorologist Lisa Green here with a look at what we can expect as we head into the next two first alert weather days. We have one today for the possibility for some strong to severe storms, and then one tomorrow for the possibility, well, the likelihood that we will see much cooler air moving in, which could lead to some issues down the road for the rest of the week. The possibility of frost is there as we're heading into this first week of September. So let's get right down to it. Of course, it is fall now, as we've been talking about yesterday. We talked about how it is now meteorological fall. So it's fall, y'all. We're rolling with that. And so September 1st kicks off the season of fall for the region from a climate perspective. And let's take a look at what we've been talking about. So yesterday, we're doing a little segment called Learning with Lisa. And yesterday we talked about meteorological versus astronomical fall. And today we're going to get into frost and fog. Both of those things, of course, are possible this week. And it's something we often see when we get into fall. But first we start to get frosty before we get into freeze up. And as we're cooling down, there is that potential for fog more likely during these seasons, during fall and also into the springtime for various reasons here. So looking at the possibility for fall to bring about some new interesting things going on here, and that includes the potential for some frost. So let's talk about this. So today, again, a first alert weather day for the potential for storms, and we will go over that in a moment, but I want to get into that frost potential here. So again, looking at our first alert weather day for Wednesday and into Thursday morning, you can see that we've got the potential for some cooler air taking over here in the valley. And, I use the term, sounds a little bit fancy, Arctic intrusion. It just means that we're going to have a push of air that's coming all the way up from the Arctic. Now, I know when we hear Arctic, we think sub-zero temperatures because that's when it really affects us and we really feel it. But, this time of year, the Arctic's warmer too, and it passes over open ground and it moderates as it makes its way toward us, so it's not going to be anywhere near that. But for us right now, it is going to feel rather cold because we're not used to the cooler air just yet. So we're going to be feeling the cold. We'll have a frost potential as well with this cold front that we're going to be talking about here in a moment. It's going to bring a big temperature drop. We'll have some blustery north winds that'll make it feel even worse tomorrow. And then once those ease up tomorrow night and into Thursday morning, that potential for some patchy frost. It's not going to happen everywhere, but the possibility is there. We want to give you that first alert because I know we still have our gardens going. We still have flowers and, some of our sensitive vegetation like our tomato plants that we want to make sure we're keeping protected. So here's a look at Thursday morning's lows. You can see a lot of places have that possibility, that potential of getting into the 30s, and some low to mid 30s up around Roseau, and then those of us in the south and west, may be able to hold on to 40 degrees, but that's it. And then a lot of places in the mid to upper 30s. So if we're not seeing a 32-degree mark on this map, then why are we talking about frost? Because you have to have freezing temperatures for ice crystals to form, right? Well, we're going to explain this here in our Learning with Lisa segment here about how frost forms and why it does. So we're looking at a view of an outdoor scenario. Here's a weather station here. And so when we're talking about air temperatures that are in the 30s and they're above freezing, one thing that's important to remember is if you've seen one of these weather stations, they're not down on the ground. They're up in the air where, we tend to live. Of course, our feet are on the ground, but, this is about 5 feet off the ground where our temperature is measured. And the temperature can vary from 5 feet to the surface. So just in general, it may not be the exact temperature of 36 degrees in the air and be the same at the surface. But especially, as we're talking about into the nighttime hours, when air tends to settle, we have got colder air that's sinking, and so the ground temperature at that point could potentially be at the freezing mark, at 32 degrees. And so, when we're talking about temperature at 32, and then if we've got any moisture in the air, water molecules in the air, as that air settles, that water touches a frozen surface that's at 32 degrees, and that you see it freeze into ice crystals and in the form of frost, as we talked about. So that's how that happens when we have temperatures that are above freezing, because what we're reporting to you when you see our temperature map, when you see a graphic with our temperature on it, that's that air temperature above the ground, 5 feet above the ground or so. So it's not necessarily what's happening at the surface. So favorable conditions for this is clear skies, light wind. You have to have some moisture in the air at least, temperatures in the 30s, because once you get into the 40s, the chances of the surface being at 32 or lower is a lot lower compared to 5 feet off the ground once you get into the 40s. So yeah, temperatures in the 30s, and some moisture on the ground too can obviously contribute to some frost development. So let's take a look at our next slide and talk about when our average frost and freeze happens to be in Grand Forks and Fargo. This varies in the valley. If you're in the northern valley, your average is going to be a lot sooner. If you're in the southern valley, it's going to be a little bit more delayed. So for Fargo, our average frost, again, that 36-degree mark or lower, is September 20th. And today is September 2nd. So if we were to see frost today, or into the next couple of days, that would be pretty early. You know, we're talking about a couple of weeks early from the average. And in Grand Forks, it's slightly earlier, September 17th, our first frost. And we do have some locations, some sites in the valley where the average first frost is in this first week of September. So it can happen. And we've already had some areas that had a little bit of frost with that first cool down in parts of the northern valley. So more places may get in on that. So we're running early here if we see frost this week. And I think we have a shot at it because we have several days, several nights where we're going to be cooling down. And then first freeze, average first freeze, which would be about 28 to 32 degrees. Anything lower than that is considered a hard freeze. That is October 2nd. So exactly a month from now, that's when our average first freeze is in Fargo, and a little sooner than that again in Grand Forks, September 28th. So again, if we see this, it's going to be a little bit before when our average date is, 2 to 3 weeks even in some locations. So let's take a look at our air mass forecast coming up here with this system. So I mentioned that Arctic air. Well, here it is. It's hiding behind our banner here in this bright blue, and that is coming our way. And so right now, this is at noon today. We're still in the yellow colors on the map, meaning that we've got warmer air. Warm colors, warm air, cool tones, cool air. So we're going to watch that drop southward behind the cold front that we've been talking about. It's a strong one. Our first kind of strong fronts dropping in from the north of the season. And so as we move into tonight, you can see more blue starting to show up in the valley, and especially heading into Wednesday. This is getting into Wednesday afternoon, just the entire valley in this kind of blue tone color. You can see the colder core, that brighter blue, that lighter blue, is more into the Ontario area. It's once again going to be more into our eastern Minnesota area, the Arrowhead, Lake Superior region, and the Great Lakes in general will be more of the focus for the coldest core of air, but we are still experiencing it. And especially if you're in our eastern viewing area, you're going to be seeing that likelihood of colder temperatures be greater because you're, again, more into that core of cold air. Meanwhile, in western North Dakota, not nearly as chilly. And so this is Thursday morning that we're first alerting to for the potential for some frost. Again, patchy frost. And then watch what happens here. We kind of get another kind of push, another lobe of colder air dropping in with this system. So we're going to be watching for that, potentially bringing a second surge of colder air. And so moving into Friday afternoon, we're still chilly. Even Saturday morning, this is about 7 a.m. Saturday, still in the blue, and maybe even colder in some instances on Saturday morning. It's not until we get into Saturday night and into Sunday where you start to see the blue retreat, the colder air mass retreat, and we see that warmer air start to kind of nudge its way in and push that out of here. So we're looking at conditions that are going to be improving starting Sunday. So once we get into this colder air, it's going to last for a few days. And so here's a look at where we are now. We are pretty warm. It's only 11 o'clock, and we're already at 70 degrees in Fargo, 74 in Sisseton, 70 in Thief River Falls, a nice warm day. And, you know, we're looking at temperatures that are going to stay on that warm side throughout the day today. However, now it's moved. I wonder if I can move this here. The cold front that I drew on the map is... Let me see if I can pull that down a little bit. No. Okay, I can't move it. But that cold front that I drew on the map, rudimentally, is kind of right where we see that wind shift. So you can see, if you ignore the fact that now Fargo's seeing a northwesterly wind shift, you can see that wind is coming in out of the south, out ahead of the front, and then we've got that turn to a northerly direction behind it. And that helps to give us an idea of where that wind shift happens to be and an idea where the boundary is. Now, it doesn't suddenly mean it's cold all of a sudden in Grand Forks, but that's where the start of the colder air begins. So we start to see that colder air moving in. If you noticed, if you remember on our last graphic, we'll go back, it's still mild, not as warm as in the south, but still mild in the north, so the cold air really hasn't sunk in immediately. We're still in the low to mid 60s, even 70 in Thief River Falls right now, but we're seeing the cold front move through, and that makes a difference for the threat for storms for today, because it's more along the front here that we're more likely to see storm development. So this is going to be critical, where the front is located. That will tell the story of if we get storm development, where it will be. And it is going to be more likely in the south, because this is going to continue pressing southward. And so it may be a situation where the front gets all the way through the valley before storms start to fire. So that would mean we would either, depending on how you look at things, miss out or luck out on the potential for that severe weather and those stronger storms and heavier rain. But there is still a chance for some rain coming up in the forecast. So that's the front. Here's a look at the rain. In fact, we've seen already quite a bit of it down into places in the southeastern part of our viewing area. Finally, it's clearing out. I've been tracking this since the valley today this morning, since we started, even before then. But you can see a couple of cells starting to pop up. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here. We're going to pause this, and we'll zoom in. I'm starting to see a couple of cells trying to fire here, again, right along the front and out ahead of it. So we'll be watching this for any more development. There is that, again, potential. If we do see that happen, we could see some stronger storms. Some of them could produce some hail, some damaging wind gusts. So here's a look at our hour-by-hour planner. We're going to watch that potential for rain and thunder. Again, more focus down in the south and east, but still a possibility. In fact, this is 4 p.m. You can see one little cell popping up there over by Hubbard County, over by Wadena County, in that area, in this particular model. And then, once they develop, they drive southward from there. So again, our chances are looking a little lower for that chance for some rain and strong storms, but not zero, we'll say. And if you are in the south, want to remain vigilant, check the VNL weather app if you're going to be traveling, or if you see some scary looking clouds, some of those puffy thunderstorm clouds starting to develop, good idea to check the radar too. Now, that again, I mentioned that doesn't mean we're not going to see rain. There's still that possibility as the front moves south. We'll see that chance for rain move in tonight. And notice that wind coming in out of the north, gusts into the 20s to about 30 miles per hour as we head into the day tomorrow. So this is 8 a.m. Still looking, like we got some breaks in the clouds. We are seeing, though, some clouds moving through and some conditions that are going to start to kind of be on that downward trend temperature-wise tomorrow. So just a quick recap of today. We'll see some 60s up north where the front's already moved through, and then some 70s in the south. This is 4 p.m. Looking at some low to some upper 70s in the south. So today, one more warm day before we start to chill out with the temperatures staying chilly. So Wednesday, we'll start off in the morning in the 40s and 50s, and with this colder air driving in, we kind of get a second cold front, a reinforcing shot of colder air, that we just don't warm up. Or if we do, it's only by a few degrees. And we have these areas of showers possible, and with some overcast skies developing into the day. So it's going to be just one of those kind of gloomy days it's looking like right now. I'm hoping we'll get some breaks in the clouds, but be ready for the wind and be ready for temperatures. You can see here, low to upper 50s. That stay in the 50s basically all day long. A few of us may see 60, but again, our average high is 77, so this is a good 15 to 20 degrees below average. And we'll continue to have that wind be a factor for us into the day on Wednesday, so some gusts still getting into the 30s. Once we get into Wednesday night and Thursday morning, this is something I'm going to be watching for. So Thursday morning, we have our first alert weather day lasting into Thursday morning for the possibility for frost. But we just went over what can cause frost, favorable conditions for frost. What are we seeing here? Well, we're looking at clouds. We're also looking at rain. And so if that happens, that's going to prevent frost from forming. We'll still be chilly, but that really will inhibit that temperature drop, that cooling that happens, that helps to create the freezing temperatures down at the surface. So this might be something that we luck out with heading into Thursday morning if this chance for rain moves in a little bit sooner. And we may luck out in another way too. So I'm expanding the view here and going back into Wednesday night. So here we are, Valley. I want you to look up toward Thunder Bay and just watch as we go through time here, heading into the day on Wednesday, heading into Wednesday afternoon, and then moving on into Wednesday evening. Do you see that little bit of blue there as we go into Wednesday night? And as we work our way overnight and into Thursday, you can see this particular model. Not all of them are doing this, and it's not a guarantee that this is going to happen, but just to even see blue on the map on one of our forecast models nearby, not for us, but nearby, was a little bit shocking too for that area. So that's an area I'm going to be watching heading into Wednesday night and into Thursday morning for, just to see if there's any little bit of blue. And by blue, if you are familiar, have been in the upper Midwest for a while, you know that means snow. So again, not for us here in the valley. We don't have to worry about that, so don't freak out. Looking at Thursday morning, again, here comes that wave that may bring about a chance for some rain. But notice there are some pockets where it's clear on Thursday morning with this particular model run. So again, something we'll be watching for Thursday, but not just Thursday. This is going to be colder air that sticks around for a while. So heading into Wednesday, our second day of school in Minnesota. By the way, I didn't get a chance to do this here. We have had our first day of school in Minnesota today, so I want to wish all of our students and staff and at K through 12 districts around the state happy school year. And we do have some changes ahead for you. You're going to want the jacket the next couple of mornings and afternoons. I mean, we're talking 50s for highs Wednesday, and then you can see Thursday, same thing, and more rain chances on Thursday as well. So this cooler air sticks around. And just a reminder, about the frost potential. Again, those required conditions, near or below freezing temperatures, clear skies, calm winds possible. And we're looking at early morning conditions on Thursday. For Fargo, I think we'll be close to 40. We may luck out. If we have enough clouds, we may stay around 40. But there is that possibility for dipping into the 30s. So we just want to give you that heads up for gardeners here. Sky conditions, again, could be some clearer skies, could be some areas where we see some cloud cover that help us out, but the wind will be on the lighter side. It will ease up at that point in time, heading into the day on Thursday. That should say Thursday, sorry guys, Thursday morning. Friday is also a morning that might be featuring some freezing temperatures. So here's a look at that in our lows trend. Tomorrow morning we should be fine. The colder air will start moving in, but as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't just hit all at once. It's going to just be taking over time. And so we'll still be into the 40s and maybe even 50 tomorrow morning. But once we get it, we just don't warm up again. And then once we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, each morning will be in the upper 30s to some low 40s, and that's in Fargo. If you're in the north and east, especially if you're, again, into more of the core of the colder air, you may be seeing 30s each morning. So I just want to stress that that's a possibility for frost, and you may have to take measures to bring in your potted flowers or cover up some of your gardens here for several nights in a row before we start to recover, and we will. Once we get again into Sunday, after Sunday morning, we'll start to warm up and get back into the 70s into next week. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is fog. And we see that again this time of year quite often. And this is a photo taken recently. I just love this. This is so cool. The sun reflecting off of the lake there. Tracy had sent us this photo. And then you could see the fog over the lake. And this is called steam fog. Fog forms in a few different processes, but this is one way in the fall we experience fog, because what happens is we get the water's very warm. The water tends to hold energy longer, and same thing on the opposite side, it tends to stay cooler longer before we start to warm it up. So once you get a cold morning and that colder air passes over that chillier water, or excuse me, that warmer water, the air near the water surface starts to condense into cloud droplets, and that's where we start to see fog. Steam fog is one of the terms for it. And then another type of fog that we see this time of year is called radiation fog. And it's kind of a similar process where we're looking at, and similar to frost too, which is why I'm talking about this here, clear night. We've got calm air, so the air just settles. It's not moving around much, and it allows it to cool more. And so as that cool air is over the surface, and we see we got cool air near the surface, and then we've got the earth from the day radiating heat. The earth is warmer than the cooler, clear air. Then that radiation starts to create some fog near the surface here. So again, conditions are going to be more on that foggy side from time to time during the fall. Not a guarantee, but still a possibility. And let's take a look at our 11-day planner. So again, we're more concerned about frost here as we head into the next couple of days. You can see that we've got our first alert weather days. For today, it's for that chance for severe storms again in the south especially. So that's something to watch for this afternoon and into this evening. For Wednesday, we're talking about the potential for some rain during the day, but also temperatures that are just going to be not warming at all, and that wind making it feel even colder. And then this carries over into Thursday morning, that first alert weather day, because of that cold temperature on Thursday morning, getting down into the 30s to some low 40s. And then we keep those low 40s going. And as I mentioned on Sunday, you can see we go from 64 on Saturday to 72 on Sunday for the afternoon high. And then that just continues to go up from there into next week. We can pull this up full screen for you here. It really is going to be improving, and we'll be back to some more comfortable temperatures. So again, it is going to be one of those situations where we are looking at some conditions that are going to be on the really chilly side compared to what we're used to. So, you may want to grab the jackets. We've been talking about flannel alerts, your flannels, your hoodies, something you may want to have into starting tomorrow and then for the next several days before we return to more comfortable temperatures. And September holds the opportunity at warming up quite a bit still. We still have some warm days ahead. And in fact, if you watched yesterday, you know that in our Climate Prediction Center's outlook, that we are looking at a warmer than average month, or a likelihood of, on the whole, a warmer than average month, and especially into next week and even weeks 3 and 4 in the forecast, the potential for some above average temperatures. So something to look forward to if you're not ready to lose the warmth just yet. And those who love fall, you're going to love tomorrow. It's going to feel cold, and if you love gloomy fall days, you may just love tomorrow as well because of that. So again, first alert weather days today for storms, tomorrow for the colder air rushing in, and we'll need to watch out for the potential for patchy frost each day starting Thursday morning and through the weekend. So make sure you protect your tomato plants, your precious plants and flowers, because we still have some growing days ahead heading into the week next week. Okay, well, keep an eye on the weather, keep an eye on the radar again today with that chance for storms, and I'm sure we will be giving you an update coming up this afternoon with Russ and Summer and Joseph working here today this afternoon. In the meantime, have a great day and enjoy the warmth for one more day before the colder air takes over coming up here tomorrow.